Yes. Wow, already improved. I got a countdown, first time in 25 months in Balloon Party history, Hall of Fame history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota's Balloon Party. Sitting in for the vacationing Jackson, Bennett, Burkett, Horton, Watkins, Marshy, Marsh, and the Playful Posse. You know him from the Fast Lane. And Maryville Hockey.
What is going on, Tim?
This is an honor.
This is awesome. We have not been together since I was on TMA like months ago.
Yeah. And the listeners, many of our male listeners took a liking to you. How'd that make you feel?
It made me feel really good.
Did it really?
You know, my self-image definitely,
so
definitely
nice to have.
heightened.
It's nice to have
40-something-year-old
fathers hit on you.
Absolutely.
It's always a treat. Well, maybe that can happen here today.
Maybe.
314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line. And you can participate in the program and gaze at Marshy Marsh and rank him in comparison to Jackson in the YouTube chat. How's your YouTube chat on the Fast Lane? I want to do some comparing and contrasting on what we experience on this program and what you and Jamie Rivers and Anthony Stalter and now Kerry Davis experience on the Fast Lane.
So our YouTube chat is deemed the Snake Pit.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, they actually came up with their own name.
I kind of like that.
They have a Discord page. They'll talk outside of the show.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, it's becoming a thing now.
That's great. I like to hear that.
I don't know if they're hitting on all three of us or all four of us as much as,
Who gets hit on the most?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe... I think it depends on...
Here's the thing. That
depends on the day.
Here's the thing. You know what that tells me? Your answer right there tells me? It's you. But you didn't want to say that because you felt like it might come off self-indulgent. But you're in a safe space because there's no way you could be more self-indulgent than me.
I'm being honest. It's not just me. Like, Carrie, beautiful smile. You have Jamie who wears Speedos.
Yeah, that's hot.
During his break. And then you have Anthony who's always looking big, nice haircut from time to time.
It does.
It really depends on the day.
Really?
Yeah.
So they want you all.
They want us all.
That's so great.
Especially from 2 to 6.
That is hot. And I didn't know that. And then there's a Discord page for the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea that was going on as well. Well, you're going to experience the Balloon Party chat today. And how about this? Tiny Peepee says Marsh is the sexiest on 101 besides Tim. How about that? That's a huge endorsement. To even be in the same sentence, to be in the same sentence as somebody that you're a full foot taller than. Marshy reads the chat. That's from Roberto De Niro, 69.
I love reading the chat. I stay in the chat, Tim.
Is the chat now more a source of interaction than your text line? I try to still go to both. I like show interaction.
I do both. I like seeing, because I feel like it's two different groups of people. Like the chat on YouTube is just having a good time. Not that the texters aren't, but obviously there's more interaction on the YouTube page because they can talk to each other, whereas on the text line...
Yeah, they become like friends of each other.
Exactly. And they're, especially in the Snake Pit, they're talking about things that have nothing to do with our show.
Right.
And then I'll see what they're talking about, and maybe I'll take that and throw it into the show. Because I like the interaction. Like, we need them to listen in, and then we want to make them feel like they're part of the show, and they are.
The people in the text inbox on TMA are infinitely more entertaining than the people actually hosting TMA. I can tell you that, and it has been a wonderful source of entertainment for that show for a number of years. And now we've got this YouTube chat, and I'm a big fan of that. So currently, many people in that YouTube chat talking it over. We welcome you to participate via the YouTube chat or the Air Comfort Service text line. I also have put this out there, and I put it out on TMA. I'm going to give $50 for a deep dive. Whether I use it today or tomorrow, we'll see. Via Venmo, and a number of people have received payments from me on this program. If you come up with a deep dive suggestion, I immediately Venmo it out. Marsh, I'm not going to say it and then not pay it. So you know that if I use it, you will get paid. So you can just say, yeah, let me think, maybe this will get them going. And then they send it in the text inbox or in the YouTube chat, and the next thing they know, they got $50 in their Venmo. It's just like that.
We did get a text from the 636. I hit on Marshy the most, so I assume others are too. Well, I appreciate that.
Is that like a, what are you, 27?
27, about to be 28 here in a couple of months.
And now a man in love, if I'm told correctly.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Things have changed, Mox, right?
Wow. Do you talk about this on the air? Or am I making you uncomfortable? I don't know.
No,
I really kind of just So, whatever comes to mind.
We don't like necessarily get into it on air, but like the question comes up from time to time. And
Jackson's kind of a man in love. Do you boys talk about it? You guys get in your little treehouse and talk about it? Try to make each other jealous that you're now interested in girls?
No, I don't know if we do that. I think it's definitely an interesting development when
it's
Jackson
happened kind of at the same time.
It is. Our lives are running parallel right now.
Yeah.
We talked about yesterday the cultures of the Cardinals and the Blues and how maybe they're running parallel. I think Jackson and I our love lives are slightly parallel right now. And that's why he's in Scottsdale, right?
Well, he's with 19 other guys in a small home, so I think this is just kind of like a back to the glory days weekend,
Gotcha.
and then he'll go back to his other life.
Everybody needs a day off, right?
It's kind of like when Vito went to New Hampshire. So it's a different set of circumstances this week. So how did then I'll get off of this, but I'm really curious. How did you meet this friend of the feather?
I mean, just a solid DM into the Instagram, right?
Oh, that's
yeah. But we
who did the DMing?
I did. She did the following. I did the DMing. So, like, we had a conversation about this when...
Why did she start following you?
Maybe she liked the chat, thought I was cute. I don't know.
So you're... Man,
but
this is a totally different world than I lived in.
We did know each other from the past. We went to school together, and then we kind of reconnected, so... It was a nice little love story going on. Since June.
That counts. And then you're 27, and since June, that starts to count. I mean, that
does count. Listen, I was in a previous relationship that lasted like 3 years, and I thought that lasted. I thought it lasted a long time.
You came in here and kind of opened up. You came into the TMA studio. You knew if there was a place you could open up, it's the TMA studio.
Oh,
and you tell me that to me and Jackson, and you told me a couple things, and I go, oh. Move on. This is bad. This is a bad situation here. I'm just telling you.
We're in a good one, though.
Yeah.
We're in a
makes me so happy. And Jackson's super happy.
Absolutely. How about Jackson's new haircut? That's when you really know things are... That's true.
Hair growing. He's got a surge. He's got a whole thing going. He used to be self-conscious when he'd be on the cameras here, and now he's got his hair slicked back.
Well, he had the hockey hair going for a little bit.
He did.
He had to chop it off. I get it. The seasons are changing. Sometimes people have different cuts for different seasons.
Yeah.
So...
Hey, he's a sharp-looking... But look at you guys. You're all grown up, and you're all grown up. Have you been part of this producer roundtable when I would be on vacation?
Absolutely.
I'm high on that.
Me too. It's awesome. It's a great time.
I get the sense, though, reading between the lines from management, it's kind of the last resort. They debate between playing like syndicated programming or the producers roundtable. And I, for one, am for the producers roundtable.
Me too. Anytime I can, come on here and talk to these great listeners for an hour.
Look at that. Oh, look at that. See, Jackson doesn't kiss the ass of the audience. You just weaved it in really nicely.
Yeah.
That's a good move. Jackson just gives Pacers Celtics highlights, and that irritates him.
Well, hey, we still have time.
Sports Center's
I think I have to.
As
right?
a tribute to Jackson?
Absolutely.
We will welcome you to participate in the program. Marsh filling in the next 2 days while Jackson is vacationing. I am out of the country next week, and the week after that, as a matter of fact. So Josh Innes will be filling in while I am gone. 314-399-9646. That is where you can send in your texts. The Air Comfort Service text line. And you have had to produce a Little Piddles Thursday Thoroughfare. That's not an easy task for a man.
It doesn't sound like it. I don't know.
Oh, did you not do it?
The 6-shooter?
Yeah. Well, no, it's a Thursday Thoroughfare on Thursdays. He's got his names for these things. I mean, they're essentially, it's just the same thing, but it's just
the same thing. I mean, I got questions for you, Tim.
Okay. All right.
So
I'm looking forward to this. All right. Fair enough. All right. That is coming your way here on the program. It is 10:12 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. Marshy Marsh and the Playful Posse filling in for the vacationing Jackson Burkett. I'm Tim McKernan. This is Balloon Party on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. So you wait till you give the cue.
I give the cue.
I hear the music and I just start going.
Okay.
Well, you know what you are? You're a pro's pro. Look at you. I just start talking. I hear the music. I just go.
Well, I have to wait because the breaks during the fast lane, right? I mean, that could be a show in itself.
Oh, sure.
So we just got to make sure that everyone knows when the mics are coming on.
That's a good strategy.
Yes.
That is a great strategy, actually. You're saving people's careers with that strategy.
I try.
Because I know of which you speak. Not necessarily on that show. I've been on the Fast Lane a couple times, but yeah, the shows in between commercial breaks. I always have told Mike Claiborne that what he says while we're waiting for Cardinals to come out at spring training should be its own podcast because he's got the greatest stories ever, and that's the podcast in and of itself. And then commercial breaks on the Fast Lane, TMA. Yeah, those could be shows in and of itself. Marshy Marsh and the Playful Posse filling in for Jackson Burkett, who is vacationing today and tomorrow. And so you have been charged with producing the Thursday Thoroughfare. Now, what Jackson does, Jackson knows that my mind and the topics that will get me just spewing. So I don't know what did he explain to you? What did he charge you with? How did he explain creating a Thursday Thoroughfare or a Friday six-shooter?
He just told me to come up with just questions.
Great. So that sounds like it was a good one-word text exchange.
Pretty much. I mean, he was like, hey, we got 6 questions. Come up with some questions for Tim. I'll relay those to him. And then we'll go from there. So I came up with what I think are some interesting questions that you could dive into because I know you do a great job of that. So if we want to get to some of them, I got them right here.
I see the questions. What are you going to go with for the lead?
Well, we are in All-Star mode now, right? We're in the All-Star mode, the NHL All-Star game. We have the Pro Bowl coming up. We got a text yesterday in the Fast Lane, like, are these All-Star games overrated? So it got me thinking. It got the wheels.
What did you guys come to the conclusion of? Did everybody come to the conclusion? I don't even know if they're really rated anymore. I guess people do watch to an extent the Thursday night skills thing on the NFL.
Maybe. I don't. I personally, if I have something else going on, I'm probably doing that, and I'll catch the highlights later. But like, it does not have the same feel to it did like back in the day. Like, I was a huge fan of Major League Baseball.
I agree.
Having the winner host the World Series.
Oh, God, no, we might fight. And I know I'm going to lose this fight, but either way, I'm going to put up a little fight. I hated that.
Did you?
What year? I'll give you my reasoning in a moment. What year does your baseball memory start? If you and Jackson are in the same age range, you're probably in the 2004, 2005, 2006 range would be my guess.
So I know things that have happened like in previous years in like the 90s and whatnot, and I can go back into other years. If you start naming like specific people, that probably isn't going to register with me. But I remember
what's your first Cardinal memory, I guess?
My first Cardinal memory was going to the Old Bush and doing like a meet and greet with some players. I think I met like Ray Langford.
Oh, nice.
I think Big Mac was there as well. So I have some
that's pretty okay.
Yeah, I have some pictures with those guys.
At the latest, that's 2001. Yeah, Langford went to San Diego in 2001, came back in 2004, but McGuire was gone after 2001. All right. Okay, so you're going back. You're kind of all right.
I think like the first World Series, there's like when you're young, there's like that moment where you actually start remembering things. So you're like, oh wow, 100%. Like I'm a human being. I can remember things. So I think the first World Series that I remember was 2002 with the Angels and the Giants.
Okay, Scott Spezio.
And everything after that has been all
right
in my brain, so I can recollect things.
I can't tell you how much I hated that the All-Star game dictated home field advantage in the World Series. You took the least important game played in between April 1st and October 31st and decided where the most important game played between April 1st and October 31st would be played.
I loved it.
Well, that's great. You got to give me a reason.
It made the game mean something. But
they didn't treat it that way. For the fans, it meant something. But then I'm going, the Cardinals are going to have to go on the road if they're getting to the World Series because, some random
not
from
in
the
2011
Pirates.
Though.
Oh, don't get me wrong, but that's results oriented, and there are a couple tenets of this program that you might not be familiar with that are very important. Number one, we don't kink shame, and that's really
I know that.
That's the North Star,
and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And number two, it's honesty in media, and then finally, we're not results oriented. So yes, it worked to their advantage. in 2011. It wouldn't have worked in 2006, but they won it in 2006 in St. Louis in 5 games. I just, for the life of me, I never understood why. And this goes back before it even started, where the All-Star game took over, and I think that was because of the 2002 World Series in Milwaukee, where it ended in a tie, and it was just a cluster. But that in 82, the Cardinals were on the road. 83, the Phillies and Orioles. Oh, then that's going to be the National League Park. 84, Tigers. They get to host. And it just went back and forth. And I thought I'm like, why wouldn't the team with the best record be rewarded with home field advantage? Baseball didn't do that up until they ended this All-Star game. Charade, and there was some BS reason for for planning purposes, and I'm going, what is that about? Because the Cardinals go to the World Series, they win 105 games in 2004, but the wild card Red Sox get to host games 1 and 2, and if there would have been 6 and 7. And then for the planning that we heard about, one of the things that the Cardinals talked about in the moment too, not results oriented, was that they win against the Astros. The Red Sox shockingly come back from 3-0 to the Yankees. And there are no hotels available in Boston. And it's not like Boston's a small city. So they had to stay out like a Comfort Inn, somewhere in New Hampshire or something like that. It was super random. And, they're not using it as an excuse, but they were like, yeah, we'd get done and, we're used to coming back and we can get food. And this was truly like some kind of random place in the middle of nowhere because there were no hotels available in Boston.
Yeah, you're getting post-game meal out of a vending machine.
That's what it was. So you're telling me about scheduling, and then in 2004, the scheduling absolutely backfired. Either way, my big thing, one of the things that gets me riled up is that I want regular seasons to matter. And I hate when regular seasons value is diminished. So that gets me going, Marsh and the Playful Posse.
So do you think, we're talking about the All-Star game, and I would think now the All-Star game doesn't mean anything, and maybe it didn't to people back in the day.
So are you talking about the baseball one now, or are you talking
I'm
about
just talking about all in general?
I feel like they meant more before, in particular, the baseball one. And I think the defining moment for baseball's All-Star games decline in popularity was not the tie, but it was interleague play. Now, because that was 97. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, obviously you didn't see these teams unless you were going to the World Series. I think it was even more popular, predating both of us, when you didn't have free agency. And so to see a guy from the American League playing a guy from the National League who likely wasn't switching teams because of no free agency, that was a huge deal. Interleague play, you got to see all these guys. So to see it lost its uniqueness. And then it irritated the players when they're like, okay, now we're going to say that the game matters. Well, it still doesn't matter. We still play 2 innings, and then we're going to get on a plane and go to our vacation home and not even know who won the game. Oh, okay, I guess we have home field advantage. Oh, we don't, because we lost the exhibition game in July. Dumb.
Do you think that when we're looking at players, when they get to be in the position of making the Hall of Fame, I think a lot of people look at all-star selections. Do you think that the new modern age players, do the writers or the voters, do they take that into consideration now? Because I would think they wouldn't, because it doesn't really matter anymore.
I agree with you. I feel like it's used when it's convenient to use it. So if you're going to try to bolster somebody's campaign who may be borderline, you go, he's a 9-time All-Star.
Right.
And it's like, well, he's an All-Star because 12 guys decided they wanted to go to Tahoe instead of, Milwaukee in July. So that's why, I don't think it should. It's kind of like bowl games. In the 80s and part of the 90s, it was an accomplishment to get in. But if you're handed 4 free non-conference wins and then you win 2 more games in conference and you go to a bowl, you can't tell me that was a successful season. We have lowered the bar for that which is successful.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Minnesota Gophers were a 5-win team and got into a bowl game. How did that even happen?
Because if they don't have enough teams, then they go down to the 5-win teams because they're not going to cancel the bowl because there's already dollars attached to it.
To me, that's insane.
I would agree with you, sir, which is why when coaches try to defend a record and say, hey, we went to a bowl, I go, well, everybody goes to a bowl.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. Yeah, college football is the inverse. The postseason's the exhibition season.
Now, are you going to be tuned into the Senior Bowl?
No, I will not. And I will not be dishonest with the audience on that. Although there's not much going on, so perhaps out of absolutely nowhere, I may watch it. Yeah. You got Cody Schrader. I saw him breaking ankles yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see
Cody
that.
Schrader isn't really an ankle-breaking back, but alas, he was doing it to a member of the Miami Hurricanes in practice yesterday.
I'm excited to see what his career looks like.
I'm pulling for. He's just one of those guys that you pull for, whether you're a Missouri fan or not. I can't wait. I want to do like a long-form interview with. I know he's done a bunch, but at some point and sit down because some of my friends either played with him or are friends with his family and tell these stories of like the mental commitment, almost being to the point of being delusional.
Right.
I assume you've seen the film Rudy.
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Like where people are just like, okay.
When he was offsides.
He was offsides and then had a sack. What does it say for the Georgia Tech offensive line? I mean, we gotta run some sprints. That you're just, okay, that's cute, Cody. Sure, you're gonna keep playing. Okay, go out and work out. And everybody's going, God, we got to talk to Cody. I mean, he thinks he's gonna play in the SEC, and then he does what he does, and he kind of shoves it up everybody's backside with that, and leads a team that wins 11 games. It's an insane story. And I think it's a story that, of course, it's very popular around here and maybe to an extent in the SEC, but around the country, depending on what he winds up doing and also because of the manner with which he did it, it can wind up becoming a national story and like a 30 for 30 or something like that. Who knows? It's a hell of a story, and it just happened to happen right in our backyard.
Yeah, it is awesome. And I wonder what type of running back he profiles as. Like, who would you compare him to in the NFL now from just like a skill set standpoint? Maybe not so much like the heart and soul aspect of things, because you can't teach that in somebody. So I wonder which team that he would fare best with and which type of running back that he would be in the NFL.
Yeah, I feel like he's a guy who I just can't bet against, even though all logic would tell you it's just not going to happen. But I think, I don't know, maybe I'm off the mark on this and maybe I overvalue it. I feel like some organizations in particular, but just in general, if I'm a coach, you want to have that kind of personality in your locker room and you want to see him succeed because it kind of sets a tone for other players, especially if he winds up having a real role in which he's contributing and he's not just like the mascot, like, hey, here's the hard work guy, that he's actually a factor. I would love it. I mean, I can't tell you how much I'm pulling for him to have success. Is there a player who you think of when you think of him?
Not from like a running standpoint. Like you look at a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, right? He wasn't like a top draft pick by any means, but he works hard. And he is an integral part of that Chiefs offense. So I wonder if he could be...
And it runs like that kind of just...
Oh, he gallops through,
I mean, he hurts guys, and that's what Schrader would do. He even said, you don't want to be the guy. It's like when Ken Hitchcock said, you don't want to open up the Roman Polak door. You don't want to be the guy to go, okay, I'm going to run at Cody Schrader. Even though he's not like he's a huge guy, he's going to make you pay for trying to. And I love that. I don't know. I'm so intrigued, and maybe we're just caught up, or I'm caught up in the fact that he's a Missouri guy, and it's a great story that you can't overcome that which is just not given to you. But I feel like if there is somebody who could, it's him. Who would you compare? I'd be curious what people would say. 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line, or the YouTube chat. The camera is brought to you by the Air Alliance team, and that's our YouTube chat on Balloon Party 101 ESPN channel. Marshy Marsh filling in for Jackson Burkett, who is on vacation today and tomorrow. You are listening to Balloon Party, presented to you by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Of course, we got to get into the NBA as a few players return home to their former organizations. Kevin Durant and the Suns went into Brooklyn and defeated the Nets 136-120. And a bittersweet return for Dame as the Bucks lose to the Trailblazers 119-116. Tonight, we'll have Celtics and Lakers right here on 101 ESPN. Pregame starts at 6. We'll have all the coverage for you right here, so make sure you tune in to some NBA action tonight. I'm Andrew Marsh, and this Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
And wait for Q, and I've been cued. Welcome back. It's Balloon Party. 101 ESPN, Tim McKernan filling in for a gentleman who goes by the name of Piddles. It's Marshy Marsh.
Where did that come from?
I believe Jamie Rivers.
Really? I thought that was something you guys made up.
No, well, we've a lot of the names that have come in for this show have come from our friends in the Air Comfort Service text inbox. The latest being Little Piddles and the Chud being the name of the show.
Okay.
Yuppie and the Douchebag, Tim and Boy, those are names. I don't know.
Sounds like a children's book.
Well, it's kind of a children's show. So I believe it was at a 101 ESPN event, perhaps at Blueberry Hill, if memory serves, where Jackson walked up to Jamie Rivers and said something, and it was completely asinine regarding the game of ice hockey. I don't know if you're aware, he just isn't that well versed.
He's getting better, though.
I guess.
He's getting better. Now, we can debate on the increments that he is climbing, you know what he's going in, but he's getting better, right?
And I believe I'm a big believer. I'm a proponent.
Yeah.
And I believe Jamie Rivers disregarded the comment by saying, okay, thanks, Piddles.
Now, where did Marshy Marsh and the Playful Posse come from? Because you just started calling
I have a bunch of nicknames for people, and I think they sometimes just go along with it, and deep down they go, why the hell is he calling me that? And that might be what we have right here. So are you aware of Mark Wahlberg's original career?
Yeah, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Well, there you go.
That's actually how I got my name, Marshy Marsh.
Well, then there you go. So my nickname for you makes sense.
That's true. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That does make sense.
All right. Yeah. That's where it is.
Actually, funny story about Playful Posse. This was, I want to say it had to be like over a year ago. I was doing, there was a hockey tournament, and I was doing some PA work. And
this is different than your play-by-play.
This is different than play-by-play. I was just, calling goals. And goal scored by Tim McKernan, a penalty,
can't skate, but he's
hooking, what. Anyways, there was a gentleman that was also in there working the clock, and we started just kind of talking, getting to know each other, and he ended up recognizing me and didn't call me Marshy Marsh. He just called me Playful Posse the entire time. And I loved it.
I got to tell you.
It was funny.
I really enjoy hearing that. It's nice to see that take.
He was a huge TMA fan.
Is that right?
Yes.
He just called you Playful Posse.
He just called me Playful Posse.
What is your career goal? Are you looking to be a hockey play-by-play guy?
I think that's the goal.
You're pretty damn good, and I'm not just saying that. For real.
I appreciate that.
For real. Like sometimes there are guys do it, and I'm like, I just want to pull them aside and say, hey, let's switch careers.
Yeah.
But I listen to you and I go, you're pretty damn good.
Well,
so then, what's the move for a hot? Because there are only so many jobs in the NHL.
Right. I think right now, I'm just kind of in that state of flow, having fun doing this, and then also just working on my craft. It really comes down to reps, and I have a good spot right now with Maryville Hockey, and it's been a lot of fun. The guys there that I work with are great, and we get to call games and just be fun on the broadcast. It's sort of like a different type of broadcast. We're in that hockey realm, so we're always chirping each other on the air and whatnot. It's a good time.
So if you got a call from a AHL, would you be like, no, I gotta go. I gotta go see about a girl. Goodwill Hunting. How would you handle that, especially now that you're a man in love? What would you do?
I would definitely consider the option.
Well, that's a bold statement.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking a stand.
Yeah. I mean, that's AHL. That's
I know.
Professional hockey, and you're one step closer to being in the
exactly
NHL.
Right.
And so I think like not being able to play at the professional level when I got into this broadcasting field, that was the next goal, was to get to that professional level in whatever capacity that is from a broadcasting standpoint. So you have sort of two different chapters in your life. And I feel like you probably the same thing. Like,
well, I got cut from everything, so I was never really close to anything.
You're the Michael Jordan of radio.
Good for you for saying that. Can we use that as a promo, Ryder? Or he's already left. He gets up and takes a break from 10 to 11. Because he's not interested in watching the, quote, Michael Jordan of radio perform. Just so understandable. I'm more like the B.J. Armstrong of that squad. Yeah, we had a guy who came in to produce for TMA. We started a station on 920 WGNU like a decade ago. It was kind of like a lifeboat while KFNS experienced a unique change of 590 the man and 1380 the woman. His name was Brian Ray, and I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a St. Louis guy. And we're used to just kind of like what we do with Jackson, and I know what goes on with you and the boys in the afternoon on the fast lane. You know, you kind of give your producers chirp, as you would say.
Yes.
I would say bust balls. I don't know if I can say it, but if I can, it's been a great run.
I didn't hit the dump button, so
we'll figure it out later on. So either way,
looks like you might have to retire like Michael. We'll get you back.
Come back where the 4-5. So this guy, we're like doing the same thing that we had done. He just started. Then he goes, well, I call hockey as well. And we're like, oh, man, let's listen to this. And then we listen and go, oh, he's really good. He's going to have a career. Now we can't make fun of him. And he's been the Dallas Stars guy, not the play-by-play guy, but the Alexa Dat. And I don't know if it's Fox Sports Dallas or Bally Sports Dallas, whatever the hell it is now. Brian Ray, St. Louis guy, does a great job. Called games for their AHL affiliate. Was it the Texas Stars based out of Austin? I think.
I believe so.
And then got the call to do that. So it really is realistic, and you kind of got to put in the time, like you're doing, to your credit, not sitting there pouting that you're not getting an NHL gig.
Right.
So that's why I'm curious when young guys, what their goals are and then how they're attempting to make it work.
Yeah, I think, like, especially in this field, it's about it, like, it's about seeing the journey and going through the journey. Like, if I got out of college and immediately went to some high profile, like, play-by-play job, right? There's a lot of things that I don't know. Like, there's a lot of experiences that I haven't.
Like, Jackson doesn't know what icing is. Do you know that?
I do know what icing is.
Okay, good. So look at that.
It is nice that having played the game, you actually know what's going on in the game.
Can be helpful.
It can be helpful, but if I don't go through certain positions in my life, you don't end up learning things, and you can't fail and then get back up and continue to go. Like, I feel like you have to fail at some point. Like you said, there's been certain areas in your life where maybe you haven't done the best and you've gotten to the point now. So, like, you have to go through things, and that's not just with play-by-play. That's with anything in life,
absolutely.
Right? You have to fail, and then you have to get back up and learn from what you did and then go forward.
Yeah, good for you. So the goal would be doing NHL. I mean, that's got to be it, right?
That's the goal.
Well, good for you. And to still have that live at 27, that's a great thing.
So
that's the name of the game. Well, I'm happy. I'm really
I appreciate
man
that.
in love, calling hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Working with the boys in the afternoon.
On the
Got
balloon
a great
party.
Show. Now you get to fill in for Piddles.
I mean, this
what
was
else
one of the stops.
This is it. This is a stop on the great guys. Marsh had a rap group. Am I correct? That's in the 636. Yeah, that was revealed, wasn't it?
Not a group, though. It was just solo.
You were solo?
I was solo.
You and young page views. What's the deal with these hockey guys from St. Louis all having rap careers?
I don't know. I think it started in high school. It seemed like everybody wanted to have a rap career, and I thought, I used to sing choir back in the day, back in elementary school, so I like singing, and I'm like,
can you sing?
I mean, I can. I feel like I can. Like, maybe not good like other people.
Have you romanced this lady friend of yours by singing?
I believe I have.
Wow, look at this.
Maybe even wrote like a little tune, little jingle for her.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
This is Quincy Jones up in here. Look at you. My goodness.
I just, I haven't been back in the game for a while, though, so it's tough to kind of get the brain working and write some lyrics, but it's always fun. I like being creative.
Man, I'm with a real Renaissance man here. He's dunking on Piddles. Yeah, forget afternoon drive. You can do a 1-hour midday show with me every day. Hey, let's go to another question. You've prepared a smorgasbord here, and I'm asking about your career and your love life. But I'm really curious. So go ahead. What do you got? All
right, let's look at. So we have the Chiefs coming up. They're playing the 49ers.
Where do you fall on the Chiefs conversation in St. Louis. This is something that has changed over the course of my career. We used to have a football team here, and nobody really cheered for the Chiefs, and we've got what's taken place over the last 6 or 7 years going on now.
So I'll just be honest. I don't have like a hatred for the Chiefs by any means. Love. I don't have a love for them. My team is the Vikings, and people from the fast lane that tune in, they know that I'm a big Vikings fan.
And that's a real thing. That's not like a. You really are, Pat. Like when they lose, I'll see your tweets, and you're like in a bad way.
It is. Like I became a Vikings fan when the Rams did leave, so they left, and I wanted to remain a Rams fan because I like the players on the team. Then James Laurinaitis was gone, and I'm like, you know what? He was my favorite player on the team. He's gone. I'm out. So I ended up picking up the Vikings as my team because I went to school in North Dakota, and all my friends up there from the Twin Cities, they're all Vikings fans. Plus, they haven't won anything, so it wasn't like I was jumping on a bandwagon. Like the previous year, Blair Walsh missed a field goal. So
what a moment.
Exactly. And I hop on the train. Sam Bradford becomes the quarterback. I'm like, well, you know, that guy, he was my quarterback for all these years.
Yeah, I got to see him check down in St. Louis.
Exactly.
I'll watch him check down in Minnesota now.
Absolutely. They went 5-0 to start off the season, and I think they lost almost every single game after that. So I was baptized into that fan base. But so I've been rooting for them, and we've been losing a lot. But I want to say it was 2019, Blues win the Stanley Cup, right? And I'm like, man, what a great time. Like we have the parade, being downtown, Game 7. It was unbelievable. The atmosphere was incredible. 2020 rolls around. Well, I kind of want to experience that again. Why don't I just drive to Kansas City? Go to Kansas City, go to KC Power and Light, watch the Super Bowl against the 49ers. They end up winning. I end up having a great time. I've been to Arrowhead, went one time for a Sunday night football game, had a great time. So in that range, I wasn't rooting for the Chiefs that night. I was because I wanted to have a good time.
Right.
But, you know, it's good to see. I like seeing greatness. So I think there's a lot of people that are sort of crapping on the Chiefs right now because they have that notion that they're becoming the Patriots.
Sure.
And I hated the Patriots, but I appreciate what Tom Brady did. And so now that I'm older, I like seeing greatness. I like seeing what they're doing. Now, will I root for them in the Super Bowl? Maybe not. I think it depends on what I'm feeling that day, if you're picking up my drift.
Yeah,
but
I understand exactly what you're talking about. You're looking at that number of 2 and debating which way you're going to go.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I'm rooting for a good game, and if they win, they win. But we get to see greatness.
I love having the greatness thing. The enemy, whether you appreciate it, and we've seen it over the last 25 years since 2000, whether you went to a college football, you'd go with Roll Tide. College basketball, certainly Duke is the Antichrist for many. In the NFL, we had the Patriots. At a time, it was the Yankees. That's fallen off, but still regarded as the evil empire. If the Dodgers could convert any of these postseason appearances into championships, they've had a ridiculous run, but they just haven't won world championships, minus the pandemic one in 20. And I like when you had, growing up for me, this predates you a bit, but the Red Wings, that was the rival, and also that 2002 Red Wings team, and I was up there covering the Blues at Joe Louis Arena, and you go back and you look at that 2002 Red Wings team and the roster, and it's just like, it was just like a Hall of Fame roster.
Yeah, I remember watching those games.
Hall of Famers on that team than there were not, which is quite odd. But I like when there is, and now we happen to have that, especially if the Chiefs were to win, and Mahomes still being only 28, we can see, who knows, maybe another decade of this guy doing it.
I think for this Super Bowl, it's tough because I do like seeing greatness, and I like seeing greatness in the biggest games. Whether or not they win, that is, I don't really care about that. But I don't know if I love this matchup. Like, it's a good matchup from a football standpoint. You have a high-flying offense in San Francisco. It's a rematch from the Super Bowl that I just mentioned. But, like, I don't love San Francisco. Like, I'm not a big San Francisco fan. I know the Lions are an NFC North team, and I shouldn't be rooting for them because they're a rival of the Vikings. But I think from a matchup standpoint and like a storyline standpoint, the Chiefs and Lions would have been a great Super Bowl.
That would have been the absolute, I think that would have been the optimal one. And that's why I was pulling for the Lions myself.
There's a rematch of the first game of the season. You have the Lions who beat the Chiefs, but the Chiefs didn't have Travis Kelce. They didn't have Chris Jones. I feel like that would have been an intriguing matchup. You have the Lions who are trying to win their first Super Bowl, and what better team to then try and beat than than the world champions,
Yeah,
the
so you
previous
truly do have the
champions.
David versus Goliath showdown. Yeah, you're right about that.
So-
I just wanted to see the Lions. I can tell you that. Which team do you hate as a Vikings? Have you actually adopted the hate?
The hate?
Is it Packers?
So I just hate the Cowboys in general. That's not an NFC North team. I just don't like their fans. I think they're obnoxious. Much like Toronto Maple Leaf fans, I think they're obnoxious. But from the NFC North, probably the Packers. Like the Lions, they haven't really done anything other than this year and a little bit of last year. So I didn't really care about them. The Bears are the Bears. So yeah, it's the Packers. But also, in this playoffs, I put that fan aside and could appreciate what Jordan Love and that team did.
Did you bet the Packers against the Cowboys? Because then all of a sudden I have to look at you differently. That was where the sharp money was in the playoffs.
I did not.
That was the squares were on the Cowboys and the sharps were all over the Packers. And I remember seeing that both on the money line and also getting 7.5. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But if that's where it is, that's what's going to somehow happen. And then sure enough.
I didn't bet on them, but I thought that they would win. Not because I thought the Packers were good.
But you knew the Cowboys.
I knew the Cowboys would lose.
Piss down their leg.
Because they always do.
That's what they're prone to do. What I always do is just ignore the clock on this show. How do you guys do with the clock on the fast lane?
We do pretty good. Some days are better than others, but
I do terribly with because you've been on TMA. We go for like an hour and a half, and then I go, let's break, I guess.
Hey, let's break. I got to go to the bathroom.
That's the only reason. We'll break here. We have one segment left. BK and Ferraro at the top of the hour. Marshy, Marsh, and the Playful Posse filling in for the vacationing Jackson Burkett. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Final segment of the day. Marshy, Marsh, Playful, Posse filling in today. And then you can hear him again on the fast lane from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Anthony Stalter is out today. So how does that, so then when he's out, he's your usual point guy. Do you say, boys, I'll handle everything? Is that what you say?
No, Jamie Rivers steps up. Next man up mentality.
Next man up mentality on that fast lane.
So Jamie steps up. He's the quarterback of the show when Anthony's gone, and he did a great job yesterday.
God bless America. So that's coming up from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., followed by, or preceded by, BK and Ferrario coming up in about 5 minutes here. Jackson is vacationing. He'll be back on Monday. Marsh, what else do you have here on this Thursday thoroughfare as you attempt to shine bright in the shadow of Lil Piddles?
Yes, I wanted to bring this up to you. I know we're running out of time here,
well,
but
that's just terrible clock management, which is my
I think
there's
a lot of people in town. Like you look at a Jordan Kyrou. Why do people butt heads with the way Jordan Kyrou plays? It's because that like work ethic that they don't see or they don't think they see. So like I have a question: are expectations of a player based off of the city's culture and work ethic?
Ooh, wow. Look at you. Boy, you and Piddles both do this. You have these wonderful questions, and they come like at 10:56. But that's in part because I don't break until 10:50. God, I think that, I do think that there's something to that. I think that there's something to that. Like the Cardinals have a culture, but it's not necessary. I'm not saying it's not hardworking. It's just a certain kind, like it's baseball guys usually are the ones who want to come and play here, or they become baseball guys. But like this city is perfect for Paul Goldschmidt.
Exactly.
Because there's no like TMZ bull crap, and he can play baseball and he can play golf and he can be with his family and he can be, you know, even though he's a superstar, potential Hall of Fame baseball player, under the spotlight. But then a guy like if St. Louis had an NFL team, for example, Cody Schrader, not taking away the Missouri ties, say he played at like Oregon, he'd be a god because of what would be considered the work ethic thing. So yeah, there's absolutely something to that. Yeah. And then some would say, might not be fair, stereotypically, that Kyrou would be great skating around for the Kings or something like that. You know what I mean?
Like he profiles as like an Eastern Conference type player.
Or yeah, like flying around for the Panthers or something like that. I do think that there's something to that. There was, there's kind of before Berube was fired and afterwards, and it's not an after the fact opinion. It's certainly highlighted more now, but there was some pushback on him well before that happened, and I'm talking about well before the famous sound bites that Jeremy Rutherford tweeted out, and then what took place after that Thursday night game.
That sort of amplified it.
Oh, it absolutely did. It was gasoline on the fire, but it did exist before then. And the way I would describe it, I'm curious what you think on this. I could tell when I was covering the Cardinals on a daily basis that Tony La Russa was not high on J.D. Drew's song and dance, but he didn't call him out. You had to know the coded words to know, like he would say, if somebody's hurt, he would say, hurt, he's, hope to get him back. And somebody'd say, notice JD wasn't in the lineup. Yeah, JD's got an ouchie. And so that was his way of saying, a bit of a soft.
Yes.
So I was sensing that Berube wasn't real high on Kyrou. And then he got the contract. And I'm going, boy, I'm a bit surprised because I kind of get the sense that at the same time, Berube would probably be the first one to say, yeah, Jordan Kyrou is going to be around in the league playing longer than I'm going to be the head coach of the Blues. He might be coaching somewhere else. So if the organization values that speed and they can't find it somewhere else, they're going to reward it. But I just felt like it wasn't going to be a good match well before the deal. What did you think? Because you know this stuff.
Yeah, I think the Blues have lacked a player like Jordan Kyrou. Like when I think of like the superstars within the organization, like the first one that comes to mind is Vladimir Tarasenko. Like he is the last guy to do that. And Vladimir Tarasenko wasn't the best 200-foot player by any means, but first game of his career, he comes out and scores 2 goals against the most hated team in your division at the time, the Detroit Red Wings. But I think with him, you see guys like Ryan O'Reilly come into St. Louis, and it just fits exactly what we're talking about to a T, right? Just hard worker. People love him. And to see him go in this new version of the Blues, they're just completely different players. And I think that's what's maybe troubling people is because you see that work ethic from one of your superstars who's not here anymore, and then you're paying another guy more money than what O'Reilly would have received, and you're not getting the same work ethic, I think that bothers people.
Sure, you're exactly right. It's an astute observation. I think it's right on target. I was asked yesterday, and I don't know, I'm doing 3 shows, so I can't recall where I was asked, so this might be redundant here, if I thought he would finish his 8-year deal here. And I'm like, no way. And that's not a criticism of him. I feel like I have an idea of how this story is going to go, and at some point, I think they will part ways, and I don't really think that's all that bold of an opinion. Marsh, it's already 11 o'clock.
I know.
Flew by.
Time flies by when you're having fun,
Amen.
right?
Well, we'll be back tomorrow to do it.
Yes.
Marsh back in tomorrow at 10, but back in today at 2 p.m. on the Fast Lane. BK and Ferrario are coming up next. For Andrew Marsh, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101